Every day, something dramatic happens in the Caribbean that affects our lives. We'll give you the details. We'll give you the facts on Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick. Here's Eddie Frederick.
Welcome to Caribbean Perspective. So glad you can join us. The story that dominates in today's edition for Friday, 15th August 2025, and brought to you in association with our friends at Antillean Group. Guyana's Vice President seems to be throwing salvos at independent presidential hopeful at every turn. Details after this important message.
Believe in our strength, we'll stand by you. Protection from all perils, big and small. Reassurance we give, it's so glad to see. Peace of mind, that's our service guarantee. We look after all our family, yes we do at every opportunity.
Antillean Group, underwriters of all classes of insurance solutions for your protection and investment. Live well financially.
The hurricane season is now upon us. So we as Caribbean people need to remember to think safety and be prepared. Avoid venturing outside during a storm or hurricane, especially if there are strong winds. Rooftops and other debris are often blown about and can cause great damage.
Welcome back. Vice President of Guyana, Barrett Jagdeo, is calling for more substantial penalties against gold smugglers, warning that international sanctions on Guyana's gold trade could devastate the country's economy. HGP's Marvin Cato reports.
Speaking on the Starting Point podcast on Monday, Vice President Barrett Jagdeo called for stronger penalties against smugglers, cautioning that international sanctions on the gold trade would cripple the sector. Jagdeo pointed to recent sting operations as evidence that authorities are acting. Over the past 18 months, police have intercepted both local and foreign nationals, including Chinese citizens, suspected of purchasing gold and foreign currency in Lethem and Madia and moving them illegally to Suriname. But in his true style and form, Jagdeo has yet again reiterated that presidential hopeful Azruddin Mohammed, who has had his fair share of international troubles, including alleged involvement in the illegal gold trade, continues to cause the PPPC major uneasiness, as it appears as though Mohammed is living in their heads rent-free.
He presents himself as a victim of PPP discrimination. Oh, Jagdeo sanctioned him. Oh, these sanctions are not serious. When they happen, oh, it's the banks that, the local banks, the PPP tell the local banks, no, don't worry. Well, after I'm elected, the sanction will be removed.
The Vice President stressed that the risks extend beyond individual cases. He said if the international community were to sanction Guyana's gold trade, the consequences would be felt nationwide, from miners deep in the hinterland to exporters on the coast.
When you charge people for smuggling, they get bail. Smuggling gold. And it's harder to charge them for money laundering offense. So we now have to strengthen the charges that we place on those people.
With elections weeks away and the country's top export under scrutiny, the stakes are high. Whether Guyana can dismantle smuggling networks before global regulators intervene may determine not only the industry's future, but also the political climate heading into September. Meanwhile, while pointing an accusing finger at Mohammed, it is the very PPPC government that continues to do big business with a Chinese company, China Railway Construction Corporation Limited, that is also under OFAC sanctions. Over the past year, Jagdeo and President Irfan Ali have been hammering home the point about doing business with individuals and companies sanctioned by the United States of America. This is Marvin Cato reporting for HGP Nightly News.
Trinidad and Tobago's economy is facing a tough road ahead. That's the message from economist Professor Roger Hussain, who linked the government's early efforts to a test cricket innings, the need for patience and strategic planning in the face of a shrinking economy. Sunil Lala of TTT News reports.
In an interview with TTT News, Economist Professor Roger Hussein compared government's first 100 days in office to a traditional test innings.
They made a reasonable start to the innings, and so far nobody is out.
However, he said managing the economic terrain would be rocky.
After 10 years of basically persistent fiscal deficit, I think with the exception of 2022, it's a lot of recalibration that has to take place. And so I don't blame them for being careful and cautious in their efforts in trying to get the economy back on track, given that it's about 18% smaller than it was in 2015.
Professor Hussein said it definitely would be an uphill task for any government in power, noting that he does not envy any minister in that position. He noted that government is simply building their test innings.
GDP is down, murders are elevated, the labor force participation rate is down, external debt is high, the stock of reserves is down. It's a mess. And so it will take a lot of time, in my opinion, to get this economy back on track. So if I were chasing 500 in a test innings, I would take my time and try not to lose wickets too early.
He predicts another budget deficit, citing falling oil and gas production and weak tourism inflows.
There is no money. Countries in a very trying position. Oil production is down, gas production is down relative to 2010. You are not seeing any extremely high spike in price of oil or price of gas. The agricultural sector is down. Our tourism inflows relative to our peers is, when compared to 2019, is down. So it's a rough situation.
Professor Hussein also welcomed the recent ExxonMobil deal, but warned it's a long-term play, noting that it must be slow, steady, and strategic.
Even if we have this gas or oil coming on stream sometime in the 4, 5, 6, 7 years in the future, the challenge is between now and 2030. It's going to be we are playing cricket like Larry Gomes.
And those of you wondering about that analogy, he likened Larry Gomes to the typical Shivnarang Chandapal.
You're listening to Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick, in association with our friends at
Antillean Group, underwriters of all classes of insurance solutions for your protection and investment. Live well financially.
As Jamaica's election campaign heats up, the ruling JLP's Dr. Christopher Tufton seemed to have pulled a card from the archives of political rhetorics, which drew prominent attorney J.D. Knight, KC, into question. CVM News has more with Curlin Brown.
One could say Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton was pressing gas on achievements by his ministry, much to the delight of those gathered in Halfway Tree when he made a detour.
We cannot trust them or their leader and that party to take this country forward. We're at a delicate stage. And guess what? I know me say you can't trust them to run Jamaica. And them say so.
What blared over the speakers sent the already charged Labourites into a frenzy. An audio message sounding like the voice of a long-standing People's National Party stalwart, allegedly speaking against the opposition leader in the role of Prime Minister.
I know me say so. KD Knight say so. Them say Frisch go river bottom and tell you say, no go down there, don't go down the Labourites.
That scenario is now a major bone of contention between the JLP and Dr. Tufton in particular, according to King's Counsel KD Knight, who has disassociated himself, making his position clear in a voice note he has issued.
Far from saying that he must never be the Prime Minister of Jamaica, I am saying that I have worked with him and I am now working for him to be the Prime Minister of Jamaica.
Well, the Knight-Tufton controversy gathers momentum.
I've always known KD Knight to be a man who expresses himself and has no fear or favor in expressing himself. I am disappointed that on this occasion he's attempting to change what he has said on record, and it leads me to believe that he's not at this point operating as a man with a conviction or with principle. That is quite unfortunate. And I will stand by my position, hold my position.
Barbados' Minister of Home Affairs and Information, Wilfred Abrahams, says the region can no longer afford to learn after the fact when it comes to disaster response. Speaking at the launch of the Caribbean Emergency and Disaster Medicine Center at Ross University, he stressed that preparedness is the only way to limit the devastating impact of natural disasters. Abrahams pointed to lessons from Hurricanes Elsa and Beryl and the COVID-19 pandemic, which exposed gaps in health readiness. He says Barbados has already made strides towards hurricane preparedness, but the next step is anticipating the tackling public health challenges before they happen. The minister lauded the efforts of the school for the many projects and programs they have undertaken.
Imagine if we knew what to expect and what to prepare for before they happen, which is why I think your SEDMED project is critical. As with everything else, we have to know what we are going to do before it happens. That's the best way. The agents say prevention is better than a quick cure. They say a stitch in time saves 9. We have all sorts of sayings, euphemisms to say be as ready as you can be. So rather than us chasing after a hurricane, when we think of a hurricane, we think of a disaster, we think of the immediate things, houses blown down, flooding, whatnot. But when all that is cleared up, or as long as it takes to clear up, then other things emerge. I want to completely congratulate Ross University. You've come to Barbados and you've made your impact felt. You're not just an overseas school operating in Barbados. You have definitely become a good corporate citizen. You've definitely spread your wings to make your impact felt. You've done the outreach programs I know that you've done with pressure testing and other things in the communities. So I welcome this as another initiative by what I consider a true Barbadian partner.
Antigua and Barbuda's port manager Darwin Telemac says the country's green energy push aims to inspire change across the Caribbean. The port is working with international agencies to meet the International Maritime Organization's clean fuel standards. ABS's Alicia George reports.
Imagine we could replace Sol, Exxon, or BP. That would be a heck of an achievement.
Antigua and Barbuda's port manager Darwin Telemac is hoping that the port's drive to transition from the use of fossil fuels will serve as encouragement and a catalyst to countries across the Caribbean region. The country is working to meet new International Maritime Organization rules that require ships to operate on cleaner fuels. However, the transition comes with several challenges, especially for small island developing states.
It is fearful for some of us. There's some ports that have been hurt by this whole green strategy. Haiti has had some pressure. St. Kitts has seen some pressure. There are ports that have lost tonnage because of the carbon intensity index measurement and some of the regulations the IMO has put in. And so to begin to see new options coming around like this is something that we hope that can be useful to the broader region.
Over the years, Antigua and Barbuda has been upgrading its port facilities, preparing to meet these standards and positioning itself as a maritime leader in the Caribbean.
One of the advantages in our port is that we are not encumbered by cities and streets. We are still an emerging space. We are a virgin environment. We can fill in some of the ocean around us. We can build what we need to facilitate that sort of activity. So if that's necessary, we hope to find the funding to do that. But if there is that uptake and that demand, then the other pieces become academic. They will show up.
One major challenge for other islands is space. Many ports are close to cities with little room to expand, and retrofitting for new energy systems can be costly and complicated. But for those who can make immediate change, Telemac says they should be excited about the possibilities.
We're not just looking at Antigua. We want to see this regionalized, and we'll be taking this to as many ports around the Caribbean who are interested. And we'll be hoping that some of my colleague port managers would be open and prepared to do so.
Telemark says the Caribbean is well positioned to scale up by taking advantage of the cruise shipping sector. By offering alternative fuels to the cruise industry, Caribbean ports could not only reduce emissions, but also create new revenue streams, even exporting renewable energy in the future. Alicia George for ABS News.
I am Eddie Frederick. This has been Caribbean Perspective, a whole new approach to highlighting developments in the Caribbean. In the meantime, please follow us on Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channel for daily regional news and more, in association with our friends at Antillian Group.
Believe in our strength, we'll stand by you. Protection from all perils, big and small. Reassurance we give, it's so glad to see. Peace of mind, that's our service guarantee. We look after all our family. Yes, we do at every opportunity.
Antillian Group, underwriters of all classes of insurance solutions for your protection and investment. Live well financially.